Can you see me a little bit better? Can you see me throwing a shoe around like a pro? I'm testing.
Eastern Wisdom and Modern Life with Alan W. Watts, scholar, lecturer, and the author of many widely read books on comparative philosophy and religion.
I expect you may have wondered why almost all figures of Buddha or of many other Eastern sages that you see are seated in the posture of meditation. The way in which he is seated and the whole cast of his features and of his expression symbolize a certain attitude to life, a certain way of looking things, which in Indian and Chinese philosophy, features and of his expression symbolize a certain attitude to life, a certain way of looking things, which in Indian and Chinese philosophy is considered essential to sanity. Perhaps I can give you some idea of the meaning of this attitude by demonstrating it with a Chinese character, a word which represents this whole attitude to life. Most of you probably know that Chinese characters are originally picture writing. Half of the character is said originally to have represented some water bird, perhaps a stork or a heron, and the other part of the character is first of all a sign meaning the human eye. And then you put legs on it, the activity of the eye, and that means seeing. And the whole character is pronounced one. And it means a certain kind of observation, a certain way of looking at things which might be typified by the image of a heron standing at the edge of the water. The whole meaning of this attitude to life is what is summed up in the entire Eastern idea of meditation, typified in these Buddha figures. And I want to try to explain to you something of the meaning of this attitude to life. For fundamentally, meditation is not so much an exercise as it is a certain way of using one's mind or one's consciousness. Because normally, most human beings, when they use their eyes or their ears, are constantly and chronically straining to see and to hear. And when you come to think of it, that's very odd, because our eyes don't work by effort. They don't have to go out and get the light. The light comes to them. And in the same way, sound comes to our ears. And even the sense of touch comes to our fingertips. We don't, for example, have to press the thing hard. If I want in the dark, I'm trying to fumble and feel what this is. I don't have to press very hard to feel it, because the sensation simply of the hard objects comes through the nerve ends in my skin. And so it's strange, isn't it, that we have acquired the habit of a constant and chronic effort to see clearly and to hear clearly. I think part of it comes from school. You know, when children are listening to a teacher in class, they're always listening to Digeridoo. And the teacher says, "Pay attention!" And the children immediately, to ingratiate the teacher, are able to sort of cam or act what paying attention is like. And paying attention, of course, is staring at the teacher. Yes, we're very interested in what you say. Sometimes, to get their concentration clear, they curl up their legs round the legs of the chair and go into all these strained attitudes so that the teacher knows they really are trying very hard to attend. And it is through such conditioning as that, through being taught that we must try to see and try to hear in order to have clear sight and clear hearing, that we learn constantly to strain our senses in their use. But as a matter of fact, this impedes the clarity of our senses, because if you will try staring hard at a book in front of you, you will find that it becomes fuzzy. Also, in the same way, if you're trying to listen, say, to a telephone conversation while the children are running all over the house and screaming, if you try to listen to the telephone, you'll get very angry and you'll have to stop to yell at the children to make them be quiet. But on the other hand, if you just let the sound come to your ears, you'll have no difficulty at all in hearing. So, you remember, when that heron was watching the fish, it wasn't looking all over the place. It was fish here, no. Heron was listening. And as it were, the whole area of vision is simply coming to the heron's eyes. And the moment it sees a ripple in the water, it darts down against the fish. Now, I don't think it's only that we have been taught by teachers and parents and so on to try to see, try to hear. There are other factors, and one of them is that while we are seeing and hearing, we are trying to make sense of our world by thinking about it. And the act of thinking also introduces an element of strain into the use of our minds. And I think the reason for this is thought is linear. You know, it goes one word after another. It's strung out in a line. We think thought, one after another. Whereas when we see to what is going on entirely. We take in a volume when we see. We take in a great area. Nature is a volume rather than something strung out in a line. But when we think, we get one thought after another, and so the process of thought is much slower than the process of seeing and using our consciousness or our mind as a whole. And this then requires a certain effort to make thought keep up with what we are seeing or what we are hearing.